Getting rewarded for failure isn't just for your boss's son. It's in fact the norm for European defense contracting, as a Peter Thiel-backed startup has completely failed in their efforts to build the drone of the future. Just why on earth is Europe acting like they can't find a combat-tested drone supplier? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. So, Peter Thiel has backed a company called Stark Defense that has failed in European trials to hit it hit 0 of 4 targets, exposing Silicon Valley's defense tech reality check. A German defense drone startup valued at $500 million had a catastrophic public failure during October 2025 trials when its AI-powered strike drones missed all targets across 4 separate attempts. This is Stark Ventures' Virtuous Loitering Munitions, which literally looks like just a clone of a Russian Lancet. And this was marketed as an autonomous strike drone capable of engaging targets up to 62 miles away, but it failed to score a single legitimate hit during live fire demonstrations with British and German armed forces, according to reporting by the FT. Now, this complete total failure sent shockwaves through European defense circles and cast doubt on the company's technological readiness despite aggressive marketing and venture backing. Lo and behold, apparently, no matter how good your Instagram is and no matter how many dystopian transhumanists back you up, it's no substitute for being able to actually kill things. Now, Stark Defense has gotten $100 million in total funding since it was founded 2 years ago, including $62 million from Trump-linked Sequoia Capital, and making it one of Europe's fastest-growing startups. It also received funding from, of course, Peter Thiel, the NATO Innovation Fund, and InQtel, none of that funding has been able to actually blow up a target. Now, here's what it claimed to have. It claimed it had an AI-powered autonomous navigation and target recognition system that would allow it to operate in environments where GPS has been jammed. But here's the thing. That means it has to actually identify what a target looks like and then hit that target. Now, just like when your AI chatbot, you ask it how many R's are in strawberries, or you ask it, hey, man, is it tomato or fruit? And it goes, no, dude, tomato's a vegetable. And you go, no, I think you're wrong. It goes, oh, sorry. Right? Well, the drone's doing the same thing. It says, oh, sorry, I thought that school was an enemy headquarters. You're right. So this is, I think, troubling because not so much that the failure happened, right? Failure is a part of these systems. And we hold these tests to make sure that, again, marketing isn't the same thing as performance. Here's the problem. They got paid. They literally got funds despite being utterly fucking useless. Germany's going to give them nearly $1 billion for just the 2 defense startups, Helsing, Stark, and Rheinmetall. By the way, guys, so Helsing did actually hit some of their targets, but they're receiving an insane $300 million to supply 12,000 drones for a new German brigade in Lithuania defending NATO's eastern flank. For those of you keeping score at home, 12,000 drones represents approximately 1 week of drone expenditures on the Ukrainian front lines. So not exactly, and they won't be ready for those. Those won't be delivered for years and years and years. Now, here's the insane part. So Stark getting rewarded $300 million for straight up failing, right? Helsing actually did their HX2 drone, did in fact have 17 test flights recognized as successful. It has a range of 62 miles. It can carry a warhead of 26 pounds, which, as we've talked about on this channel, defense contracting, one of its fundamental flaws is the gee whiz new feature, right? At the end of the day, Ukrainian drones don't carry a smaller payload, have a way shorter flight range, but there's a lot of them. A lot. Like 1 million a year, a lot. So would you rather have 1 million a year of an okay system or 12,000 of a prestige system? Guess what? If every one of those prestige systems was to destroy 2 Russian soldiers in every single strike, they would not offset 1 month of current Russian mobilization, which is not even a Russian draft. It's a Russian volunteer system, contract soldier system. That's how annoying these gee whiz contracts are. 12,000 is a drop in the bucket Now, of course, they go really fast. They carry big warhead. They go a long way, right? And Helsing, of course, notably, is valued at $12 billion and has already begun delivering drones to Ukraine, which is fascinating because this is, I think, the story here, is that if you want a battle-tested tool, you have to send it to battle. You can't be battle-tested in a training environment, right? Helsing is already producing 6,000 drones for Ukrainian forces, following an order of 4,000 of their previous drones. So you can see, literally, despite being kind of clunky and having a difficult time, in this iterative process, it takes years, whereas a typical Ukrainian drone startup is making engineering changes in months or even weeks. We're still seeing the fact that the drones that are combat tested perform well, right? In one example, the Stark drone, by contrast, missed its target by 500 feet and crashed into woods. It was a disaster for Stark, a person familiar with the trial told the Times. Quote, they oversold their capabilities and are now paying the price for it. No, they're not. They're getting funded. Statement says, Stark says, we are going to, we're going to keep testing and developing, and we're going to deliver these technologies to the front lines of Ukraine. Good luck, guys. Good luck. Here's the insane part. The other $300 million, right? So Helsing gets $300 million for underperforming to deliver a tiny number of drones. Stark failed abjectly and is getting rewarded for its failure. Exactly the same reward, by the way, as the company that succeeded. So succeeding and failing get the exact same checks. By the way, Rheinmetall didn't even show up, didn't participate in any way. But Rheinmetall, big. And it says it's building an FV-14 loitering munition called the Raider. And they said, you know what, the Raider, you guys need money too. Rheinmetall has managed to find a way in, one German defense industry executive told the Times. This is not competition, guys. This is not the free market. Nothing about this is free market. Nothing about this. And here's the problem. If you want to beat the Russians, you have to innovate faster. You have to produce drones that are more effective and cheaper. And the answer is, you say, listen, here is the test. You beat the test and you will win money. We will, just like the free market, right? If you make a cheaper, more reliable automobile, more people will buy it. You are rewarded with more money, and you use that money to further outstrip your competition. And if your competition wants to keep up, they have to find a way to take your automobile and make it cheaper and better. It's easy. We know it works with cars, right? That's why BYD does everything a Tesla does and costs 1/8 the price. It's because of competition, the free market. But somehow, in drone land, failing abjectly, not even participating, and successfully hitting your targets all come with the exact same reward. Now, Europe is no different when it comes to other emergent technologies with massive national security implications like AI. Europe, where America built AI systems and the regulation lags behind a little bit. The Europeans regulated AI out of existence to make sure that there is no chance that it grows at all. It's like the Europeans have this tendency where they love regulating things preemptively so much that it's sort of like saying, listen, we're going to plant a garden, but the very first week we're going to weed it. And in the first week, guess what, guys? You don't even know for sure which is your plants and which is your weeds. So you end up ripping out all of your weeds or all of your fruit before it ever has a chance to grow. That's what this is. They say, listen, we're going to pull out all the weeds. We're going to preemptively weed our garden. And Insta goes, no, dude, you have to let your stuff grow a little bit. And then you go and you pull out the weeds and you prune. And that's the way the market should work. The space emerges, right? And in the US, again, we're sometimes too slow to regulate, but we let the market, the free market, grow and blossom. Maybe it has 2 players. Maybe it has 10. Maybe it's a market that supports 100 players. Who knows? Maybe it's highly regional. Maybe it's global. Maybe there's economies of scale, right? But you let that market emerge, and then you step in and say, okay, let's introduce regulations that get rid of the scam companies. Let's introduce regulations that stop these external harms, right? So the Europeans just don't do that. They create these regulatory environments. And how regulation is impacting small tech businesses in US and Europe. In the US, 62% are actively using AI, whereas only 50% of EU and UK businesses are. But look, something like almost 50% more UK and EU businesses say they experience delays due to regulation, most of them believe regulation will boost adoption, and barely any are confident that they are handling the new rules well. Right? One president at the App Association says it like this: Europe is saying they want more competition, but they're creating an environment that makes it less likely. Because remember, every time you introduce a line of compliance, if you're a 3-man scrappy startup, you can't have one of your employees filling out regulatory forms, getting regulatory approval, right? You have to be faster, right? In fact, Prime Minister Mario Draghi, who has been a long-time advocate for increased European competitiveness, said that the AI Act should be paused until AI risks are assessed, right? This is to say the AI Act is a regulation by the Europeans, right? And again, he's saying what I said, which is, hey, don't regulate until we see what's actually happening. Let the plants grow in the garden and then prune them. It's very easy. And the problem is that for the Europeans, the fear is that Russia has significant AI investments, right? Their Yandex AI system is real. The Chinese, Russian ally, the Chinese have massive AI capabilities. DeepSeek, right? And these are models. Remember, we see the large language model. That's what we as regular people can infer from. But remember, China also probably has an AI as powerful as DeepSeek, as efficient as DeepSeek, that's dedicated to economic forecasting, that's dedicated to building out data analytics, data networks, similar to a Palantir. So I say this because the Europeans have enemies who aren't bound, who aren't regulating their innovation out of existence. And even in the face of what feels increasingly like maybe not an existential threat, but a massive threat to the European and EU experiment, even in the face of that, they still are unable to do anything but regulate. It's like Europe took its best, most innovative people and put them all in Brussels to write regulations about things. And almost no one, only the most deluded, half-baked Europeans are running startups. And don't get me wrong, America has some startup founders who are truly deluded and half-baked. But like some of the most brilliant people that I've encountered have ended up behind a startup. All right, ended up taking a shot on their own thing. And some of them failed, some of them succeeded, but every one of them, I sit there and go, they were the real deal. And that's what makes America, that's one of the secrets to America's success as a democracy. Why democracies grow these massive economies that autocracies can never match. But if we don't lean into that diffusion of power, that reward for innovation, that rapid change, like change that happens more rapidly than any central government could ever control. That's the secret sauce to American competitiveness and ultimately America's and Europe's victories at war. Again, and I point this out, the last thing I want to mention is Ukraine understands this intuitively. Not intuitively. They've learned it the hard way because they were a Soviet system country. And in the face of an existential threat, they learned to innovate. Ukrainian brigades now have a market system where when they submit data, not money, but data to the Ukrainian Central Command, effectively, they earn points, in-game currency, in-war currency, you could call it, to spend in the Brave One marketplace. And the Brave One marketplace is a place where UAVs, ground robots, EW ELAN systems, AI tools, software, munitions, all kinds of innovations get put up for sale. And if you build an awesome innovation, units can buy it with cash, right? Or with points. And if you make good stuff, you make a lot of money. And if your system doesn't work, it doesn't happen. we know it, right? We've seen it. You on this channel, we raised a bunch of funds for Liu. Liu said, listen, there's this new type of antenna that allows us to talk to, make an FPV drone expand its range so far and with such high fidelity that drone becomes an air defense interceptor. And so we bought 2 of them for some of the Liu's teams. And now they've gone from shooting down 1% to 2% of Russian drones to 40%. And it's because of you guys, right? And it's because of the innovative system. It's because the people who designed it, by the way, were just some tinkerers in the 3rd Assault Brigade who said, I think if we could make an antenna do this, that, and the other thing, it would work. And this diffuse, competitive free market system has produced innovations faster than the Russian centralized command could ever do. But again, it's not an accident. It's designed. It's engineered. Someone in the central government of Ukraine said, listen, we need to do it this way. Anyway, guys, become a member at Combat Vet News. Support the channel. Support what I do. We actually just took a look at the viral footage coming out of Pokrovsk. Become a member. You can also become a member on YouTube, and that we're working on getting YouTube members the same benefits as paid Combat Vet News members, and that is just a button down below. So thanks to Sergey Zinchenko, Thomas Anderson, William Max, Jacob Georgiev, and AL90, as well as all of our Lieutenant tier members. Couldn't do it without you. See you in the next one. Cheers.